film is such a wild ride, and I loved every minute of it. It's truly fantastic. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Oh my goodness. My first question's for Hannah and Kane. How did the horror genre allow y'all as filmmakers to explore the complexities and frightening realities of social media that you may not be able to do with, with such an impact and urgency in other genres?
Well, I think that social media is so inherently mineable, like it's rife for comedy. And then the horror genre is, I believe, the only genre where you can say anything you want in the world without offending people, because the gore grabs its audience. So, yeah.
Well, and I guess it's the only genre where you can kind of go so big with something and so aggressive, and not have the audience go, that's unrealistic or that wouldn't happen. They're kind of in for that. They want to be shocked. They want to be grossed out or whatever. So I think when we were talking about social media, it was always about like how violent it can be emotionally and mentally. And we just wanted to represent that physically and literally. So the violence of horror is like the violence / horror that we're doing to ourselves, right? With kind of comparison anxiety and all these things that you acquire after, prolonged social media use, basically. So
yes. Oh my gosh, that's so perfectly said. Aisha, Cecilia is such a character we don't often see on screen. To say that she's a complex female flawed character doesn't even do her justice. I wanted to hug her and then punch her and then hug her again. I'd love to hear why it was important for you to maintain her humanity through it all, through the tender moments, through the murderous moments.
Well, I mean, they'll tell you, we had a Zoom meeting like this. I was still in LA and they were in Australia. And initially, we had talked about me coming over to play Fran. And I read the script and loved it, but like felt so immediately drawn to Sissy that I was like, I don't think I can play Fran, but like I feel really drawn to Sissy. But there's no part of me that was expecting them to be like, sure, And then we met on Zoom, and I think the whole time I was just telling them which parts of the screen direction I was offended by on behalf of Sissy. Like, the parts that say she's creepy or a psychopath. I was like, well, I take personal offense to that. So I don't know. I don't know exactly how to describe it or why it happened. But I did really immediately just kind of feel, I felt like Sissy was my friend. I felt like Sissy was myself when I was younger. She's a lot of people that I've known and loved. And I felt defensive of her,
Yeah. And I think that was such an important quality to have for this character, because she really, like I said, I mean, gosh, it really helped us also, I think, self-reflect about the things that Kane, you were saying before about the violence of social media. You almost can relate to Sissy's situation, even though it's an extreme one. And it feels so deeply personal, I think. And it was just so beautifully done. Let's talk about the choice to make the kind of incident between Cecilia and Alex happen when they were 12, such a pivotal age, especially for young girls. Can you talk about that decision? And then, Aisha, how did that kind of inform your take on adult Cecilia? Whoever would like to begin.
Well, it's actually deeply personal. Like at that age, I was really, really bullied, and I retaliated in a way that affects me still as an adult. Like I hate confrontation, and standing up for myself is quite tricky still to this day. So I think that a lot of children, not just girls but boys, go through one of these sort of like formative experiences that shapes who they are as human beings and affects their mental health as adults through the rest of their lives. So
it doesn't have to be a spade in the face, but it's
I didn't shove a spade into
I'm just clarifying.
It was more emotional. It wasn't.
You did? it's okay. It's a safe space.
But you heighten things in a genre film, and Aisha, I don't know if you want to speak to, because you were also
we kind of talked about that in our first meeting. I remember look, just to be completely honest, I think I was 9 years old. And I remember I punched a girl in the face, and I did break my hand doing it. So I was the one who left with the injury.
You didn't tell us that.
I did.
Did you?
Yes, I broke my hand. My hand
All
has
right.
literally never been the same because I cannot throw a punch to save myself. I don't know if you saw Sissy, but I am running like this when I'm going to go kill someone.
I also can't imagine you punching anybody. Like,
no.
Yeah.
Yes, I looked like a ballet twirl when I punched them, but like. They had in my mind in that moment, they had stolen my only friend, and and they had actually truly had like a birthday party that I wasn't invited to.
Same.
And I think a lot of girls can relate to that, and I think the thing that I loved about Sissy was kind of this idea that you can be bullied and also someone else can see you as being the bully, and that there is no like the gray area of that, because like no one is really wrong in this situation. And it also really made me think about what if when I had punched her I had been wearing brass knuckles or something. Like I don't know where 9-year-old me would have gotten brass knuckles, but like just that idea of like thinking about the potential ramifications of like what if you step over that line, because when you're a teenager or 9-10 years old, like everything feels like the end of the world.
And the social consequences for Cecilia, I do believe, are just as severe as any physical ones. She doesn't have friends. She's fallen in between the cracks of society, and that's why she's been able to put all of her energy into social media, into her account. But she's struggling, and I think that's punishment enough.
Thanks.
And then she runs into Emma, who makes everything much worse.
Yeah, it's truly heartbreaking. I mean, like we see just the sort of metaphor of the hair dye. Like we see Sissy when she's walking up and down the drugstore aisles. We see her gravitate toward that right before she even sees Emma, which I think just shows you how that trauma is still following her and how she's still figuring out what it all means. And I think that, it's so hard. It's so hard being like 12 and 13. I have a niece that is 13, and I just want to like, I don't know, bestow all this like knowledge on her, but then I'm like, she's not going to get it because you're developing and learning and figuring out who you are at the same time you're already being labeled. And it's just so tricky. And then to have this happen to a character, I was like heartbreaking, like I said. And what a beautiful film. Before I let y'all go, beautiful, I say that, I mean, it is. I mean, I know that it is.
That's very sweet that you would think a film with the kind of grossness of some moments that we have is beautiful, but I'm very glad that you had that experience with it.
Yeah, and I think that's just a testament to y'all's writing and direction and your stunning performance that is so full of so much vulnerability and, like you said, love for the character. So in honor of Cecilia's mantra, I am love, I am special, I'm enough, is there, do y'all have like a least favorite or favorite like self-care phrase?
I mean, they definitely grew out of that. Like those are things that we've kind of learned in therapy, along the way, things like that. I mean, the whole kind of rope that she puts around herself is something that I learned from someone.
Cognitive behavioral therapy. It's a tool. It's a common tool.
In terms of a mantra, I mean, is there a mantra that you've got? I'm trying to think.
A mantra? Oh boy.
Like a spoken thing?
Well, I like to always say this, but I just like to say to myself, you're never as good as they say you are, and you're never as shit as they say you are.
Yeah, there you go. You're somewhere in the middle.
That's really healthy. That's a very healthy mindset for your ego. I'm taking
You're
that.
not shit.
You're not great, but you're not shit.
You're somewhere in the middle.
Just keep it even.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Never too high or low, right?
I'm gonna roll with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that. I think that's a great place to end. I'll have to talk to my therapist about that on Thursday.
Great. I'll have to email my therapist back.
But thank you so much to the three of you for your time, for bringing us this film. Congratulations. And I can't wait for the rest of the world to meet Sissy and, go on this wild ride.